You're about to see Richard Bandler demonstrate how he performs rapid hypnotic inductions. Dr. Bandler eloquently displays his talent for making the various complexities of his communication skills seem effortless in this remarkable demonstration.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Chaos Land. Today, we're going to do a couple of things. The first thing I wanted to do is to give you a little bit of history. When I started doing hypnosis, it was primarily at the request of Gregory Bateson, who is what I consider to be one of the great English communicators. Gregory founded the field of heuristics probably some 50 years ago. When I met Gregory because he moved across the driveway from me, and Gregory looked at the work that I was doing, and he said, you know, you really should study hypnosis, especially Milton H. Erickson. And I'd read some books on hypnosis. I was hypnotized when I was 7 years old by a magician, and I liked it. It was fine. But I started telling people, well, I was going to study hypnosis. I bought lots of books about it. And one of the things that happened was that I noticed there was an odd response. Most of the psychotherapists said to me, oh, you don't want to study hypnosis. It's bad. And it doesn't exist. Which is kind of a weird combination. Now, that made me really interested. When I thought about doing hypnosis, I thought, you know, well, here's something that really frightened psychotherapists. I should learn it. I also found that hypnotists had a slightly better attitude. And I know some of you were a little upset because I pick on psychologists, but you guys like pain. Also, since the beginning of my career, one of the things I've tried to do is to get people out of the domain of looking at people as if there's something wrong with them. When I started out, it was because I went into horrible mental hospitals. And mental hospitals used to be really evil compared to what they are now. They used to be terrible, dingy little places with metal bars and little contraptions that looked like they came out of Boris Karloff movies, where they tortured people. They shoved electric juice through their heads. They gave them horrible drugs. And they were absolutely certain that schizophrenics couldn't be hypnotized. In fact, they spent millions and millions of dollars at Stanford proving that only a certain percentage of the population could be hypnotized. Now, there were some innovative people. There was a guy named Spiegel, and he was one of the first people to formalize rapid hypnotic inductions. He had people roll their eyes back in their head and then close their eyes, and did it to measure who was hypnotizable and who wasn't. The further you could roll your eyes back in your head, the deeper you could go, according to him. I took somebody who scored a 0 on the Spiegel test and knocked them into a deep trance and did every hypnotic phenomenon. They used to say that in order for people to be hypnotized, it took hundreds, if not thousands of hours to learn to do deep trance. These are hypnotists saying this. This isn't even psychologists. Psychologists didn't believe that hypnosis was a valuable tool. They said it only treated the symptom. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think treating the symptom is, first and foremost, one of the very important things that you do. If somebody is terrified of elevators, making it so they can get in one and go up and down is a good thing. And if it only takes a couple minutes to do it, even if it comes back later, you can do it again. That giving people freedom is what my work is about. Now, one of the freedoms that I want everybody to have has to do with your ability to learn, because Milton Erickson is the first person I ever saw do a rapid induction. And by the way, I gave Milton credit for doing the handshake interrupt. Milton was paralyzed in the right arm. That would have been impossible. I did that to see if anyone was paying attention. But what Milton actually did is he took somebody and he took a hold of their arm, he lifted it up and he looked them in the eye, and he began touching them ambiguously so that their arms sort of stayed like this. And then pretty soon, after 45 minutes, they dropped into a trance. Well, to me, I just don't think that it should take that long. And over the years, I've studied different hypnotic techniques, And I found that there are really two types of hypnotic inductions that work quickly. One has to do with catching people between programs that go on in their mind, that you do something. Milton did a hypnotic induction once where this guy, a doctor, came up out of the audience and walked up to Milton, and Milton stuck his hand up like he was going to shake it. He had to actually lift his hand, and he went like this. And the guy stuck his hand out, and Milton bent over and tied his shoe. And the guy was like this. And then Milton went, go and sit in the chair and drop into trance. Well, that was really the first handshake interrupt. Now, for me, over the years, one of the things that I've tried to do is to find ways of making it so that people can go into trance rapidly, quickly, and easily. So I've taken these kinds of techniques. Now, the other category, which you'll see today, is there's a lot of hypnotic techniques that have to do with fixating your gaze and your concentration. Hypnosis is not a state. A lot of people think if you go into a trance, you can't see and you can't hear. That one's called death. Okay, that's a different state. When you're dead, you won't see or hear or feel anything. Hypnosis is really a state of heightened awareness. It's a state where you go into and focus your attention more than you do normally. You actually hear better. You actually have control over your feelings. You can control your heart rate, your blood pressure. Most people can't do that in the waking state. Last year when I was in the hospital, the nurse came in every hour and checked, I guess, to see that I was alive, which is a good thing. But she put this little thing on my finger, and this little digital thing went, and it would go, you know, your heart is beating this many beats per minute. And I have to admit, I was somewhat bored, so I started putting it on my finger when she wasn't there and practicing. And then when she would come in, you know, I would go, how many beats a minute do you want my heart to beat? And she goes, well, I'm just finding out what it is doing. And I said, how about 66? And I'd stick my finger in and go, and it would be 66. And then I go, how about 82? Make it go up to 82. And then she looked at me and I said, hi. Very high. Now, controlling your neurology through yoga, through concentration, through meditation, meditation is not different than hypnosis, except that it's less directive. That when I learned to do meditation the first time, they had us repeat this mantra over and over again. We went inside and said a Hindu word for a certain color and repeated it over and over and over again until we got so bored we drifted into an altered state. It also habituates because by firing the same neurons over and over again, it has a tendency to alter your state. Many of you, where you were young, focused on a candle, you stared at it and went into a somewhat relaxed state. It's a trance state. It's not something that's out of the ordinary. I see it every day in the hotel when I get in the elevator. People go in and they press the button. They look at the floor thing. The elevator doors open and they start to jump out. And they go, oops, I'm not getting off here. Well, that's true. But the doors open, the command is leave. You know, that it's a program. It's like sometimes you've driven up behind somebody and the car in front of you stops. And the light changes and they don't. And that's just because they've drifted away for a moment. Having your mind wander is not out of the ordinary. Having your mind focus so intensely on something that you can begin to really relax in our modern society, I think is a good thing. I find that if I trance people out, that a lot of the things that are difficulties. Recently, I had a guy that bit his nails down to the bone. Every single fingernail on every hand was gone. And he was, of course, I would say, a little too tense. In fact, he was way too tense. He thought every day, all day long, he would ask himself the question, am I going to die? And, of course, the answer to that is yes, but not right now. But worrying about it wasn't making it so that he got anything else in life done. And, you know, today, you know, given the economic situation and all the chaos going on in the world, there are still more people with warm, full, and dry and a chance to enjoy freedom than there ever has been. It doesn't mean the world is perfect, and it doesn't mean that there aren't places where awful things are going on. But if we spend our time feeling bad about it rather than doing something about it, things will never get better. So one of the things in this course that I want to arm you with is the ability to get around the long conversation. The long conversation goes like this. They pull out their violins and they come in and they go, well, you see, I've been in therapy for 4 years. Let me tell you all the insight I discovered. And I always interrupt them. I go, excuse me, do you still have your problem? And they'll go, well, yes. And I go, then everything you're about to tell me is now of no interest. And they go, but I spend a lot of money on it. You go, I understand my problem. And it used to be that people believed if you understood your problems would change. And it's a nice idea, it just doesn't work. Lots of people understand how they got screwed up, and they're still just as screwed up as they were. But if you could get people out of their normal mode of thinking and put in some new ideas, it's pretty easy for people to do new things. I know in this audience here alone that some of you have had experiences that really only took a few moments, and things that have plagued you for years are not there. I see my favorite needle phobia back there. She's just smiling away. If I asked you to come down here and give me a shot, could you do it today? Yeah, because you have an experience which has changed everything. One of the things you have to do when people come to you is to convince them. And this is why I think rapid inductions are so important. That, and it saves a lot of time. That if you can do rapid inductions with people, no matter how much their beliefs are built up, that everything is going to be the same and they're going to come in once a week and whine and for years and years and years. When you look at them and raise one eyebrow and the next thing they know, they're sitting in a deep trance. That's the thing that will help you so that you get by lots of stuff, because you provide people with a convincing experience. Now, I wanted to start with one which is fairly common. Let's see who we got here. What's your name, sir?
Arek.
I beg your pardon?
Arek.
Eric?
A-R-E-K.
Would you come down here, please? I tell you what, in a minute I'm going to ask you to sit in this chair, but not yet. Okay, now, one of the things that happened when Milton... Yeah, I know that. Look. You ever heard of Satan? He's afraid of me too. I went to Rome once to meet the Pope, and they told me no. I go, I just want to shake his hand. Now, when Milton did the handshake induction, of course, Milton, being paralyzed with his right hand, took his hand and he extended it like this. When the person's hand came up, he just grabbed a hold of it like this and began to talk to them slowly and comfortably. And while he did, he altered his state slightly so that he began to go into a trance, which he spent most of his life in. And he began to touch ambiguously. And as he touched ambiguously, suddenly he looked at the person and said, "Close your eyes now and really relax." And as you do so, you're going to do the very same thing that you did when you first stood up firmly and strongly. That's right. Because in a minute, I'm going to ask you to sit down. And when I do, I want you to drop all the way into a deep trance. Now, sleep. That's right, all the way back. Really relax. And go deeper and deeper still. Because while you're dropping down into a deep, comfortable, relaxed, wonderful state, you're learning something like you very first did. When you first went to school and you saw the task of writing letters and numbers of the alphabet, you didn't know just how much. It would give you an infinite amount of opportunity to read books about different things. Now, right now, you can begin to slow your heart rate down, your blood pressure can drop slightly, and suddenly from your past, ideas will begin to bubble up. Silly ideas. Ideas with a giggle attached to them. Now, I'm going to grab a hold of your head. I'm going to slowly pull it forward. And as I do, I want you to go all the way down. Deeper and deeper and deeper still. That's right. Now, I know it says in the books about hypnosis that it takes hundreds of hours to teach people to go into a trance. I'm just not that patient. And neither will you be. Because right now, while he drifts down deeper and deeper still, I'm going to reach over and I'm going to pick up his left arm, and I'm not going to tell him to put it down any faster. Then he goes into a trance that's deep and comfortable, while only silly things from his past begin to emerge, things with a giggle attached to them, things that you maybe haven't thought about in years. Because the amazing thing about giggling is it happened at the time when we did our best learning, when you were with your friends and playing games, when you were in school and the teacher did something and you started laughing and you couldn't stop. All that giggly stuff that was there was the foundation of what built you strengths later in life. Now, I know that you know more about you than I do, and that's a good thing, because I'm very critical. But I also know that things which bother you in the present may not in the future. Now, because one of the things that you can do as that hand goes down is begin to double that giggling. And double it again. That's right. And double it again. Till it seems so silly. And every time things seem silly, you're going to take this feeling. And by the time your hand touches your knee, things are going to seem totally hysterical. That's right. Now, while you keep that silly feeling, I want you to think of what the most serious problem in your life is. Because it's only through having a perspective that you get a chance to do things differently. Now, I know that it's important that we learn to make changes so that when I tell you to even go deeper and sleep, that's right, I'm very serious about it, because I know this is only the beginning of really drifting down into a much deeper and deeper state. Now, what's your name, dear?
Patricia.
Come here, dear. It's all right. Come on out here. See this chair right here? This one here is mine. Okay. You just sit for a spell, okay? Okay. Now, because one of the things that they kept telling me was that here they had people locked away in hospitals and they didn't know what to do with them. And yet they said, unless you had the same skills they had, you couldn't talk to them. Since their skills didn't work, it seemed to me that we needed new sets of skills. So I made up the term neurolinguistic programming so that, because I knew they would have no idea. In those days, computers were in 4-story buildings. Floppy disks were this big. They were called RKO5s. Tape drives, the tape was this thick on them. They had flashing lights. They were more satisfying than a laptop that looks at you and goes, ah, syntax error. You know, hard disk crash, that's my favorite one, because when it says that, I take it as a command. I'm just like that. Okay, dear. Now, somebody asked me yesterday, and they sent me a little note, and it said, we saw you do a nonverbal induction, and all you did was look at this person. And they went into a trance, and they said, can you teach me to do that? Who wrote me that note?
I wrote it before you told us to do it, before you taught us how to do it.
You wrote it before I told you how to do it?
I wrote it the day before, but I didn't put it in the box until 2 days later. It was in my bag.
Yeah. Okay. So you know how to do it perfectly now.
Sort of.
Sort of? What's your name, dear?
Tanya.
Tanya? Would you come down here, Tanya? Thank you. Now, I want you to sit there, okay, because I'm going to show you how you do this, and I'm going to try to break it in. See, because remember, one kind of hypnotic induction that's very rapid, of course, is to interrupt a pattern, like a handshake. Okay, and when you interrupt a handshake, or in this case, you know, I just interrupted it, it took his hand and left it cataleptically, and so he could go into a really, really deep trance. Now, on the other hand, the other kind of hypnotic induction has to do with focusing somebody's attention. Now, you can have them stare at a candle, but I don't have one, so we'll have to hallucinate that. And rather than hallucinate that, all I'm going to ask you to do is just to look at me, because I'm going to show you where deep trance is. Because I've discovered over the years that people learn very fast non-verbally. You ready? Here we go. That's right. Take a deep breath in through your mouth. That's right. Now close your eyes. That's right. And just drop down and start to relax. Take a deep breath in through your mouth. Don't worry about your face. It'll be there when you come back. I know you were a little nervous, but that will fade. Just let it relax. Start with your forehead. And we'll just touch your third eye. And just drift down and really relax and soften your cheek muscles. Take a deep breath in through your mouth, let it out through your nose, and just drop down. Relax. Everything's going to be okay. That's right. And while you drop down, because in a minute, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. What was your name again?
Tanya.
Hi, Tanya. Sleep. That's right. Now, you're next. That's right. Because hypnotic inductions are not that difficult if you watch for the right moment. If you watch people, they're drifting in and out all the time. You just have to catch the right moment and to mark it off so that people can go into a state where they can begin to learn to just relax. That's right, and go deeper and deeper still. Because the process of learning, whether or not you have somebody fix on something or whether you interrupt a pattern, it really doesn't matter that much. It's just a chance to teach people how to go into an altered state where they get good feelings that will stay with them for the rest of their life. Because not only does he have giggles in his past, he has them headed in his future. That's right. And he's not the only one that knows how to giggle. That's right. Excuse me, let me walk around here for a second. That's right. I think we better move this so that it's where it belongs, squarely on your shoulders, just before you drop all the way down. That's right. Now I'm going to touch you on the shoulders, and all I'm going to do is touch her gently. When you do this, there's no reason to poke anybody. All I'm going to do is tighten my hands, but I'm not going to squeeze. And when I relax, so will you. That's right. Because you don't need all that tension, dear. You should learn the secret of being a strong woman. Store your tension in other men. My wife did it, and it worked perfectly. She would walk up to me and go, "There's something I'm really worried about." And I'd go, "What is it, dear?" And she'd tell me, and then she'd be fine, and I could do the worrying. She goes, "That kitchen counter really needs to be cleaned. It might have germs on it." That's right. And start to repeat the word inside your mind that says soften, soften, soften. That's right. And just let that stuff go. Just relax now. Let all that go. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Relax. That's right. Deeper and deeper down. Let yourself float down on the waves of time and change. It's about time you found a way to find yourself feeling good in spite of yourself. So the more you try to not relax the course, the more you will. And you'll just drift down. Let all that stuff go. You don't need that stuff. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, soften. There we go. Feel softer. Now double that. That's right. Double it again. And then think of something totally silly. Come on, there's something sillier than that. That's right. Double that. That's right. Now I'm going to pick up this arm just like this, and I'm not going to tell you to put it down any further than your face. Because as your hand approaches towards your face, it's only the attraction to new learnings. And the closer it gets to your face, the sillier it's going to seem. And the sillier it seems, the more relaxed you'll get. And at the moment it touches your face, you're going to drop all the way down deeper and deeper still. That's right. Atta girl. Life is tough. You got the look on your face is priceless. Oh no, he's coming back! Oh no! Feel like that old Saturday Night Live sketch. Please, Mr. Bill. Okay. What's your name, ma'am?
Jocelyn.
I beg your pardon?
Jocelyn.
Jocelyn?
Jocelyn, yes.
And?
Teresa.
Teresa. Jocelyn and Teresa, will you come down here, please? Would you just sit here for a minute, please? Okay. Now, do you see my point? Okay. Just look at it, okay? Stare at it. Okay. And what I want you to do is take a deep breath in through your mouth and slowly let it out through your nose. Now, I know that you believe the sun is coming up tomorrow, because if you thought this was the last day on earth, this would probably be the last place you'd be. And as long as you can believe the sun is coming up, you can believe something is coming. It's as simple as this. Sleep. That's right. And just let yourself go down deeper. Take a deep breath and drift. Because if you let yourself, for that instance, just float back inside yourself and feel yourself on side of your face beginning to cycle like this, right around like that. Let your consciousness move. Because the thing that creates altered states is taking your consciousness and doing something with it that you don't normally do. Come here, dear. Hundreds of hours it takes to hypnotize people, thousands of hours. And you can't cross any kind of cultural line. So therefore, this won't get stuck up here like this. Because when it, no. That's just, there we go. So that when it goes down, I want you to go deeper and deeper. That's right. And deeper and deeper. There you go. Because I want you to learn something of importance. That's right. Here we go. All the way down. That's right. Deeper and deeper still. In the